And the CBC's Nahlah Ayed is in Cairo, and she joins us now. Nahlah, just your reaction to this historic moment.
Well, it kind of looks familiar, Andrew. I feel like I've stood here before, kind of like deja vu, but it's certainly a pretty excited crowd, and it's a different kind of reaction. I guess if you look a little bit closely right now, you see an army helicopter that's going around the square to incredible cheers from the people. Now, last time, people did feel that it was the army that got them out of this, of the Mubarak rule back then. But what's different right now is that people recognize that this is a coup, and they're saying that they're okay with that as long as they get something better than what they had for the past year, and that is President Morsi. You probably can hear it going again, the helicopter going over the crowd. But the point here being, Andrew, that people here recognize what's going on. In fact, there are some who are skeptical, who are worried about the army taking over, because as you recall, it was a very violent period when the army was in charge. People had expected that the army wouldn't stick around for very long, and yet they did for several months, and in fact failed to provide the kind of political transition that people were hoping for after Mubarak was deposed. Well, now they're saying that they feel what is happening now, what the army has imposed, is precisely what they were looking for back when Mubarak was deposed. You know, a proper civilian oversight government, transitional one, a technocrat government, one that will also look at forming a proper constitution, one that people agree with here, and also just ensuring that the people's daily lives are taken care of. The economy is in trouble here. Power is an issue, fuel is an issue, food is an issue. So people feel that this time around, perhaps the army will right the wrongs of the past.
It's interesting, though, Nahlah, and I'm curious to get your insight on the state of democracy, what this says about the state of democracy in Egypt. We've got pro-Morsi supporters saying this is a military coup. Morsi was democratically elected. And then others in that square behind you basically saying, no, this is democracy at its best. This is the people saying this has not been good enough. But what do you make of the state of democracy in Egypt tonight?
Well, the way I look at it is the way people in that square told me earlier today. They were asserting that, and you've heard this, I guess, from some of the political players, not just here in Egypt, but outside of here, that democracy is more than just an election. That's what people there told me, that they had expected by electing Morsi. And by the way, I should say, Andrew, that quite a few people we spoke to there did actually vote for Morsi. They had hoped that Morsi was the answer to their undemocratic government before that. And so their assertion is that democracy was more than simply a ballot box and a name that is produced at the end of a voting process. They were hoping for a president who would speak for the people, who would actually represent their needs, who would not only rule as an Islamist or Muslim Brotherhood president, but one who speaks for all Egyptians. For example, just as one example, when there was that violence just earlier, a few months ago when I was here, that involved, it was sort of Christian versus Muslim, people were quite upset, both Muslim and Christian, that the president didn't immediately come out and denounce the violence as unacceptable in a country that has both Muslims and Christian citizens. And so that's a small example. So people feel that, yes, their action in this case, their presence on the street is also democracy. Now, you can look up democracy in a dictionary and come up with an answer. This is the Egyptian version, and they say that it is what they want. They want a president who would represent all Egyptians, and Mr. Morsi was not the one.
Nahlah, tonight, as we are seeing in Tahrir Square, jubilation, celebration, fireworks. You know, if we go across the city, we'll see a very different scene. Let's just take a little moment now to just let you listen. We can see that army helicopter there, Nahlah. They've got laser beams that are going, and the fireworks are all going. But what can we expect in the days ahead?
legitimacy of Morsi as the president should be defended by Muslim Brotherhood members or supporters, either through martyrdom or through blood. And so that suggests that there will perhaps be some violence. And as you've seen in the last few days, there have been some skirmishes. There's a lot of tension between the pro and anti-Morsi sides. The liberal, let's say, secular Muslims, by the way, they're not Muslims, they are Muslims and Christians. And then the other side, the Islamist side, if you want to call it that. And so there's been a lot of tension, a lot of anger that's been building up for quite a long time. Since about last November, when Morsi decided to go ahead with the constitution that many people felt was forced down their throats. It wasn't quite what they had hoped for. And also ever since that women started believing that their rights were being encroached upon. So I expect that there will be some violence. The hope is that there wouldn't be a lot of violence, but the expectation is that it's difficult to imagine these next few days and hours passing without a little bit of that.
And I just want to remind our viewers that we are speaking with the CBC's Nahlah. She is live in Cairo on this historic night. Maybe we can go full frame on Nahlah and just get you, Nahlah, to give us a sense, just describe what you are hearing and just seeing around you.
Well, as I said, Andrew, it's quite remarkable to be standing here again, almost in the exact same spot in 2011, seeing what happened back then, and to be back here again 2 years later and see a very similar scene. The square is absolutely packed. I mean, it's chock-a-block with flags. I'm impressed with the amount of fireworks that they seem to have down there. It hasn't stopped since well before this announcement, and it certainly hasn't stopped now. When we were down there, it was quite a cross-section of Egyptian society, very similar to back in 2011, but really very much so. It was not just middle-class, English-speaking, French-speaking, literate Egyptians. It was every kind of Egyptian. I mean, I saw people who were very clearly farmers. They were telling us that they were farmers, people who were just ordinary teachers and government workers. There were policemen in that crowd, every kind of Egyptian you could possibly think of, and that was really quite remarkable to see. And again, just the sheer passion among people. Because I'll tell you, Andrew, the last time I was here, there seemed to be a lot of resignation, a lot of anger about what was going on, and they didn't quite know how to proceed. And it's quite amazing looking at this now, Andrew, realizing that it really just took a planned organization, a very small organization to begin with, to plan this protest for June 30th on Sunday, which marked the first year of Morsi's president. And the fact that it took on the life that it had really indicates to you and to me that there certainly was an upswell of anger about how Morsi had performed over the past year, that he's really let people down. So looking now, the helicopter hovering overhead, clearly the army basking in what it believes is the right decision for the Egyptian people. And the people are responding. They're loving it.
You know, it is incredible, Nahlah. As we were talking to you, we saw that army helicopter go over your head again, and it was lit green. And from what I understand, those are lasers that people are shining up, almost illuminating, almost in celebration. I mean, to some people watching, it really is an incredible scene.
Andrew. And like I said, I mean, the fireworks have not stopped all day. They've tripled in frequency in the last, 15, 20 minutes. But it is a happy, I mean, and they sense this, Andrew, because even earlier today they were quite jubilant. There have been signs over the last 48 hours that the army would deliver what they had hoped for. Now, if you'd asked people a week ago if they thought they could topple Morsi as president, I'm not sure that a lot of people would have thought that it was possible. But I think the signs were, the positive signs as far as these people are concerned began with the incredible outpouring of people on Sunday. I don't think even the organizers expected that so many people would respond to the call of, hey, let's talk about how Morsi has done over the last year, and people responded. And so are people happy over here? They are happy. Is all of Egypt happy? Absolutely not, Andrew. And that's why the future of this country still hangs kind of in the balance of how the next few days go, because the army will have to really, and the Interior Ministry has made an announcement to this effect, they will have to really patrol the streets and try to, A, separate the two sides, but B, also watch and ensure that there aren't any acts of violence that might inflame all this passion and lead to something far uglier than what we're seeing here. So there will have to be also political moves to ensure that everyone feels inclusive, including the Muslim Brotherhood, because after all, they may not be the most popular party today, but they are part of Egyptian society. And so the expectation would be that a political process that is inclusive of all parts of Egyptian society would be the way out of any ill effect of this decision today.
Nahlah, very good to talk to you live in Cairo tonight on this historic day. Thank you very much. That's the CBC's Nahlah Ayed in Cairo.